Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. I am doing hi guys, by the way. Epic History TV. New Napoleon video. I love this channel, guys. History March, awesome channel. Baz Battles, good channel. Kings and Generals, awesome channel. This channel has everything. Sure, it might not have the best maps. It might not have the best battle scenes, or actually they're good, right? But just all around, like when I watch Epic History TV, I feel like I am watching, like I'm in a theater and watching a movie. They just all around, the editing, the score, the narration, storytelling, maps is just all really, really good, and it makes these videos quite the experience. If you are not ready to learn, why is it so blurry? My medication in the background. Xanax. Okay. I'm not starting over. I know this has been a butcher of an intro, but I'm not starting over. Let's do it, boys. This was just posted 4 hours ago, which means I probably won't even post it tomorrow. I want to give them a little bit of a breathing room. I don't want to leech any views away. If you have not seen the original video, guys, make sure to watch that before you watch it with me. Just, you know, give them the view before you give me the view. And let's do it. Napoleon in Italy, the little corporal. Perfect. So this is pre-1800 Napoleon, I hope, because I know less about that time. Let's go. My name's Connor. I like to watch. If you're not ready to learn, you are in the wrong class, sir or madam.
An Epic History TV PMF Productions collaboration. In 1796, at the height of the French Revolutionary Wars, a young French general took charge of a ragged, demoralized army in northern Italy. It was his first command. Many expected him to fail. Instead, in just 1 month, he won his first brilliant campaign. With astonishing self-confidence, boldness and energy, he led his army to victory after victory, transforming the war in Europe, winning praise from a grateful republic, and forging a legend. This is the story of Napoleon Bonaparte's first campaign, and the dawn of a new age.
Guys, so I saw someone get like upset in me in a comment. I think it was just one person that like I was saluting Napoleon, right? It's just something I do. Like when I like someone I learn about, and he said because of like some atrocities, then I can't admire any historic or so many historical figures. Just go out the window. So take it easy, take a chill pill. I'm saluting Napoleon because of how much I've loved learning about him. The little corporal in Italy.
1792. Europe is plunged into conflict by revolution in France. At first, it seems this infant republic will be quickly snuffed out by her neighbors. Incredibly, France clings on, thanks to mass mobilization, patriotic fervor, and her traditional military power. In 1795, France occupies the Low Countries, while Prussia and Spain withdraw from the war. But the French Republic still faces a powerful coalition of enemies, which includes the Austrian Empire, and kingdoms of Piedmont, Sardinia, Naples, and Great Britain, as well as a counter-revolutionary revolt in the Vendée region of western France. In Paris, the most extreme revolutionaries had been toppled, sent to the guillotine, as they had sent so many before them.
Good riddance.
France is now governed by the Directory, a more moderate 5-man committee.
Lepiaux, Carnot, Barras, Rubel, and Tournier. I know that's very English. Tournier, Rubel, Barras, Carnot, Lepo.
Which quickly wins a reputation for corruption and inefficiency. Nevertheless, in 1796, they plan a major military offensive to knock their most dangerous adversary, Austria, out of the war. The two main efforts will be made along the Rhine by powerful armies under General Jourdan and General Moreau. A third effort, of which much less is expected, will be made in northern Italy. The French Army of Italy is a poor cousin, starved of money and supplies, stripped of troops to reinforce French forces on the Rhine. But its fortunes are about to change.
Question. Were many of Napoleon's marshals that we know when Napoleon is head honcho, right? Emperor or whatever, it seems like some of them, I got the hint, and that I'm asking this question. So were a lot of his marshals already well accomplished military men and in the army before Napoleon came to big power? Or were there some marshals that he that were pretty unknown prior to Napoleon that he elevated there? Anyone know? That makes sense.
On the 2nd of March, 1796, the Directory appoint a new commander to lead the army. One of France's youngest generals, Napoleon Bonaparte. We're delighted to welcome back.
Guys, please make sure to use their link if they had one, if any of this interests you.
Back as video sponsor, NapoleonSouvenirs.com, the online shop for all fans of the Napoleonic era. Since 2010, the team at NapoleonSouvenirs.com has offered the finest quality gifts and souvenirs for all those who adore the Napoleonic era. Their enormous range of gifts includes busts of the Emperor himself, replica Napoleonic firearms, flags, statuettes, imperial eagles and uniforms.
Guys joining us,
and sensational replica
from left
swords
we got
and sabers,
Volti,
as well as
we have Maria, Georgie, and Freddie.
Of a French Maréchal.
Say hi.
You can visit their online store at NapoleonSouvenirs.com. Or if you're in Paris, visit the Boutique Napoleon in person.
Said I would change the
Vive
monthly. I have to change it.
And big thanks to NapoleonSouvenirs.com for sponsoring this video.
General's most important talent is to know the mind of the soldier and gain his confidence. He is not a machine that must be made to move. He is a reasonable being who needs leadership. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon arrives at the Army of Italy's headquarters in Nice on the 25th of March. He is just 26 years old. 2 years have passed since he masterminded French victory at the Siege of Toulon. Since then, his fortunes have been mixed. A short spell as artillery commander in Italy, 10 days in jail when his political patrons fell from power. He then refused to serve in the Vendée, fighting French counter-revolutionaries, leading to several months' unemployment in Paris. Then, an extraordinary break.
Before we hear the extraordinary break, again, I feel like the further back before the Napoleonic, like from the Revolutionary War, from the French Revolution to the end of the Napoleonic Wars, I feel like the further towards the start of all of this, the less I know. And so I really need to watch some videos to learn up about the period of, maybe a decade before the French Revolution, a few years before, to get some context, and then up to where Napoleon starts, up to this point. So I need to watch some and learn about that.
In Paris. Then an extraordinary break. 13 Vendémiaire, Paris. A royalist mob threatens to storm the national government. Napoleon is the closest general to hand and put in charge of its defense. disperses the crowds with brutal efficiency and is acclaimed savior of the revolution. A grateful Directory promotes Napoleon to General of Division and awards him command of the Army of Italy. On the 9th of March, he marries his great love. He disperses of its defense. Napoleon is the closest general, threatens to stop. He disperses the crowds with brutal efficiency and is acclaimed savior of the revolution.
Okay.
A grateful Directory promotes Napoleon to General of Division and awards him command of the Army of Italy.
Okay, I'm caught up.
On the 9th of March, he marries his great love, Joséphine de Beauharnais, and leaves for the front 2 days later. There are French generals in Italy with a better claim to command than Napoleon. Serrurier, a professional soldier who first saw action in the 7 Years' War, a decade before Napoleon was born. Augereau, a tough, experienced soldier, bold tactician, and committed Republican. And Massena, risen from the ranks, fearless, tireless, hero of the Battle of Loarno against the Austrians the year before.
Is Napoleon gonna shoot his eye out?
All three would later become marshals of Napoleon's empire. For now, Napoleon seems to these veterans young and underqualified, a political appointment, embarrassingly infatuated with his new wife. But there is something about the Corsican. As Massena observed, his small size and puny face did not put him in their favor. But as soon as he donned his general's hat, he seemed to grow by 2 feet. Napoleon impresses above all with his tireless energy, and he has much to do. His army is organized into Massena's advance guard of 2 divisions, one led by a hard-fighting Swiss general La Harpe, and the other by Meunier, whom Napoleon soon decides is incompetent. The main body comprises the divisions of Augereau, Serrurier, and 2 smaller divisions under Macquart and Garnier. The cavalry is led by General Stengel.
So the three of Napoleon's marshals that he has known for knew the longest are Augereau, Serrurier, and Massena.
But the Army of Italy has been shockingly neglected by the Directory. The men are hungry and unpaid, with a few units on the verge of mutiny. Some men don't even have shoes or muskets. Napoleon inspects the troops and studies reports. He enforces discipline and breaks up rotten units. He is assisted by his aide-de-camp, Junot, Marmont, and a dashing cavalry colonel, Joachim Murat. As emperor, Napoleon will make 2 of these men dukes and 1 a king.
Murat,
his most valuable assistant is his
Sicily?
new chief of staff, General Berthier, who helps him to reorganize the army's supply system and scour southern France for food, transport, and forage. The situation begins to improve. But Napoleon knows what will really rejuvenate his ragged divisions: victory in battle and the promise of plunder.
I want to lead you into the most fertile plains in the world. Rich provinces, great cities will be in your power. There you will find honor, glory, and riches. Soldiers of Italy, will you lack courage or constancy? General Bonaparte's proclamation to the Army of Italy, 27 March, 1796. Caesar.
Napoleon has spent 2 years studying the situation in northern Italy and the history of past wars here. He has developed clear plans on how the campaign must be fought. Now, he will put them into action. Napoleon, with 38,000 troops, outnumbers the Piedmontese and the Austrian army. But if they combine, he will be outnumbered, so he must prevent this at all costs. His plan bears all the hallmarks of what will become known as the Napoleonic art of war. A bold, rapid advance, not against the expected target, Genoa, but Dago. Here he will occupy the central position and prize his enemies apart. He knows that when threatened, the Piedmontese will retreat on their capital Turin, the Austrians on Milan. With his enemies divided, unable to support each other, he can defeat each in detail. Napoleon's plan...
At first I was wondering, because he's going right in the middle to separate the two armies, but aren't you also going right in the middle of two armies trying to attack you? But I'm guessing that it works because it's not like they have World War II technology, communication, or World War I even, and so they don't know exactly what happens. They might think, both sides might think they're attacking the full force.
Can defeat each in detail. Napoleon's plan will be aided by the fragility of the Austro-Piedmontese alliance. They regard each other with deep distrust after years of rivalry. The new Austrian commander, General Beaulieu, is experienced and was once considered energetic, but he is now 70 years old and does not know Italy. He is convinced the French will target Genoa, the port used by the British to supply their coalition allies. So much so that he rejects Piedmontese plans for close cooperation. Their troops remain scattered across mountain passes in a general defense against invasion. On the 4th of April, Napoleon moves his headquarters forward to Albenga in preparation for his offensive. But Beaulieu strikes first. On the 10th of April, Austrian troops take Voltri to disrupt the expected French attack on Genoa. The small French garrison falls back to join Massena's advance guard at Savona. But Beaulieu's fixation with Genoa is playing into Napoleon's hands. Dago, with its vital crossroads that link the Piedmontese and Austrian armies, is covered by just 8,000 men of Argenteau's corps. Mountainous terrain means Beaulieu can only march to Argenteau's aid via Acqui, more than 20 miles to the north. What's more, Argenteau has orders to take French positions at Montenotte as a diversion for the attack at Voltri. What's more, Argenteau has orders to take French positions at Montenotte as a diversion for the attack at Voltri. But the French cling on courageously. Corporal Roache particularly distinguishes himself, exposing himself to enemy fire to shoot down on the enemy. His commander, Colonel Rampont, tells his men, "Here we must conquer or die," a moment which quickly enters French military folklore. It's the perfect setup for Napoleon. The enemy's attention is focused on Voltri, and Argenteau's corps has been left dangerously exposed. He swings into action, sending La Harpe's division to reinforce Rampont's troops, while Massena makes a tough night march across steep ravines in rain and fog to turn Argenteau's right flank. By dawn, the Austrians are outnumbered, outflanked, and under heavy attack. They retreat in disarray. Napoleon orders Massena to move on Dago, while he turns his attention to the Piedmontese. But Augereau's advance gets held up at Cosseria. The old castle is held by Piedmontese and Croatian grenadiers. The French launch frontal attacks into withering fire and suffer hundreds of casualties. when the colonel of the 18th Demi Brigade is killed, a 26-year-old Louis Gabriel Suchet takes over command.
Suchet! My boy!
"I have never seen fire like it," wrote Marmont, Napoleon's aide-de-camp. Despite heroic resistance, the hopelessly outnumbered garrison surrenders the next day. With Serrurier's division also advancing from the south, Piedmontese commander General Colli has little choice but to abandon his position at Montezemolo. The same day, under Napoleon's watchful eye, Massena takes Dago. But while La Harpe's division moves off to reinforce Augereau, hungry French troops left in Dago turn to plunder and pillage. No one spots Colonel Vukasovic, a tough Croatian commander, approaching with 3,000 reinforcements. He attacks at dawn, routing the French and retaking Dago with ease. It requires the recall of La Harpe's division and another day of heavy combat before Vukasovic can be driven out.
Guys, I don't want to hear it. I didn't.
No one spots Colonel Vukasovic, a tough Croatian commander, approaching with 3,000 reinforcements. He
To the group of people who were looting?
Attacks at dawn, routing the French and retaking Dago with ease. It requires the recall of La Harpe's division and another day of heavy combat before Vukasovic can be driven out of Dago. A bayonet charge led by 27-year-old Colonel Lannes wins particular praise from General Bonaparte. Napoleon has won 3 victories in 4 days. The marches and battles have been grueling, but he has achieved his first objective. The Austrians are regrouping at Acqui and will soon retreat to Alessandria. They can offer no support to the Piedmontese. And so General Colli orders another withdrawal to a strong defensive position behind the Corsalia River. Napoleon orders an immediate attack. Augereau's division on the right, Serrurier on the left, Massena in support. But the French, under heavy fire, struggle to cross the swollen river with its steep banks. When Serrurier's troops finally get into San Michele, they immediately begin looting the town.
It seems like one of Napoleonic France's great assets is that it seems, unless just because I've been learning about the marshals, it seems that France, thanks, I guess, in part to Napoleon setting up these people around him, when Napoleon is fully in charge and has all of his marshals, it seemed like a powerful tool is that Napoleon, who's this military genius, tactician, battlefield genius, has all of these very super loyal and extremely smart at their own different areas. And he just has these very reliable, great people, marshals who are good in certain scenarios to direct them certain ways. And not that I know of, do any of the other nations or empires, whatever, have that circle around them of great commanders that they can send whichever way they wish in battle to find an outcome. It seems like that is a really good, shows you how smart Napoleon is by surrounding himself with people like that.
But the French, under heavy fire, struggle to cross the swollen river with its steep banks. When Serrurier's troops finally get into San Michele, they immediately begin looting the town and are thrown out by a counterattack. Despite his success, Colli is still heavily outnumbered and fears encirclement. The following evening, he begins a...
Sorry, I slammed down that mug really loud.
Heavily outnumbered and fears encirclement. The following evening, he begins a covert withdrawal. Despite his success, Colli is still heavily outnumbered and fears encirclement. The following evening, he begins a covert withdrawal to Mondovì. But Napoleon is not deceived by the fake campfires. Patrols confirm his suspicions. The Piedmontese are pulling back. Though his troops are exhausted, wet and hungry, he launches them after the fleeing enemy. Colley's troops are caught before they can establish a new defensive line. The brave and popular General Dicat is killed. Retreat turns to rout. The French enter Mondovì in triumph, where at last, briefly, they can eat and rest.
The two armies which lately attacked you in full confidence now fly before you in terror. General Bonaparte's proclamation to the Army of Italy, 26th of April, 96.
General Colley, his defeated troops scattered and demoralized, requests an armistice. Napoleon declines as his troops descend from the mountains into the fertile plain of Piedmont. Destitute and starved, French soldiers now plunder the Italian countryside freely. Brigadier General Joubert is among those frustrated by the men's conduct. Everything would go very...
I'm starting to learn over whether it's during Hannibal or a lot of the, whether it's Hannibal or Caesar. No, not Caesar. It seems like Milan area, all right, northern Italy around Milan, has been just in the like, how many times has it been plundered by different forces over 2,000 years, you know? It just seems to be in a very plunder-happy area.
Countryside freely. Brigadier General Joubert is among those frustrated by the men's conduct. Everything would go very well if the soldiers did not abandon themselves to pillage. Not a day passes without some looters being shot. Despite this severity, the mania doesn't stop. The rural folk are arming themselves. Napoleon condemns such behavior.
He doesn't become a marshal, right?
Limited impact, especially as everyone knows Generals Massena and Augereau to be two of the greatest offenders.
I thought that was Napoleon. No, that's Augereau.
On the 25th of April, French troops enter Carrasco, just 30 miles south of the Piedmontese capital, Turin. Meanwhile, General Beaulieu is at long last marching to Piedmont's aid. But he is a week late. And when he learns that Piedmont has opened negotiations with the enemy, he withdraws his troops in disgust, planning to take up new positions along the Po River. Austrian troops join in the plunder of Piedmontese villages as they go.
Wow.
Victor Amadeus III, king...
So he was going to help until he heard they were talking about surrendering and appeasement. So they're like, all right, well, screw that. We're going back. And while we're going back, we're going to plunder and scorch all this stuff.
King of Piedmont, Sardinia. Victor Amadeus III, King of Piedmont, Sardinia, sees no option but to accept Bonaparte's terms for an armistice. Piedmont must give up the strategic fortresses at Cuneo and either Alessandria or Tortona, leaving the country virtually defenseless.
Why wouldn't he ask unconditional?
The final peace treaty, signed 3 weeks later in Paris, cedes Nice and Savoie to France and grants free passage to French armies. Napoleon has ended the 4-year...
What kept them from just demanding an unconditional surrender and taking the entirety of Piedmont?
...war with French armies. Napoleon has ended the 4-year war with Piedmont in less than 3 weeks.
Soldiers, you have won 6 victories in a fortnight and conquered the richest part of Piedmont. But soldiers, you have yet done nothing, for there still remains much to do. Bonaparte Proclamation, 1796.
The Army of Italy has little time to rest on its laurels. 4 days later, having received 7,000 reinforcements and fresh supplies, it's on the move again. Napoleon plans to invade the rich province of Lombardy, ruled by the Emperor of Austria, and defeat Beaulieu's army. But first, he must cross the Po River, which is...
This reminds you of Umberto and the second and Garibaldi, or not Garibaldi, he was south. Umberto and Napoleon III going in to fight the Austrians. Or is that a bad comparison because it's in northern Italy against Austria? So, and I might have been wrong with Umberto.
Ruled by the Emperor of Austria, and defeat Beaulieu's army. But first he must cross the Po River, which is closely watched by Austrian forces. It will prove one of Napoleon's most brilliant maneuvers. Massena is ordered to make conspicuous preparations to cross the river near Sale, assembling boats and building gun batteries.
Is it a
Meanwhile, Napoleon has formed a new
Correct.
elite brigade. 5,000 grenadiers, carabiniers, and chasseurs to act as the army's advance guard under the...
What's a chasseur?
Carabiniers and chasseurs.
I know what a grenadier is. What are carabiniers and chasseurs?
To act as the army's advance guard under the command of General Dallemagne. This force is ordered to march rapidly east to Piacenza and cover 40 miles in just 36 hours. They are followed by La Harpe's division, then Augereau and the cavalry. Beaulieu receives reports that French troops are moving east and begins to redeploy his forces, while remaining conscious that there are still French troops that might cross the Po as far west as Valença. This uncertainty makes it impossible for him to concentrate his forces. What's more, he's
So there was a purpose behind Napoleon sending them so far down, so that the Austrians would have a tough time deciding whether they should even send people.
Completely underestimated
So smart.
the scale and speed of Napoleon's move. The French advance guard, with Colonel Lannes in the lead, crosses the Po on the 7th of May, chasing off Austrian patrols that are the only opposition.
Guys, question, and I know I'm not an expert here, but why not, like, okay, he sees they're going over there, which means that this army is going to be very much depleted, and depending on how uncrossable the Po is as it goes east, right? Just be like, all right, send your people that way, that you might have them villages or whatever, but it's going to be difficult for them to go around before you can attack the lesser force of Napoleon, because he already sent a bunch over here. You know what I mean? Like, could it have been smarter to just let these people go and then start the attack fully with full Austrian strength here against the lesser? Does that make sense?
Of Napoleon's move. The French advance guard, with Colonel Lannes in the lead, crosses the Po on the 7th of May, chasing off Austrian patrols that are the only opposition. By the next morning, most of La Harpe's and Augereau's divisions and the cavalry are across, consolidating the French bridgehead, while Massena and Serrurier move to the crossing as fast as they can. Men of General Liptai's division are the closest Austrian troops. They take up defensive positions at Fombio, but are overwhelmed by the French attack. That evening, Beaulieu's advance guard arrives, expecting to reinforce Liptai. Instead, they blunder into La Harpe's division. In confused night fighting, General La Harpe is shot dead, possibly by friendly fire. Napoleon regards him as one of the army's best generals, and his loss a great blow. Beaulieu, realizing that the French have crossed the Po in force and now threaten to cut him off, orders a rapid withdrawal east. Milan is to be sacrificed. The great fortress of Mantua will be his next refuge.
Milan always getting conquered.
The French advance guard is soon in pursuit. On the morning of the 10th of May, they catch the Austrian rearguard at Lodi.
Look, guys, I'm still learning, okay? So when I say, oh, Milan always getting captured, maybe I could have a warped view, and maybe feel free to correct me and stuff.
10th of May,
I encourage
they catch the Austrian rearguard.
I'm no expert.
At Lodi. French troops chase the Austrians across town and over the town's 200-yard bridge over the River Adda. But when they try to follow, they find the bridge is swept by fire from 14 guns. Its far end is held by 3 battalions of Croatian infantry. Several more battalions and cavalry squadrons are behind them in reserve, around 6,500 men in total. Napoleon soon arrives and positions guns to bombard the Austrians on the far bank. An artillery duel rages for much of the afternoon. Napoleon sends Beaumont's cavalry brigade upstream to look for a ford so they can cross the river and flank the Austrian defenses. But he grows impatient. Massena's division has begun to arrive from the south, bringing his strength up to 15,000 men and 30 guns. Napoleon makes a speech to the infantry, taunting them, daring them to take the bridge, then orders them forward. To cries of "Vive la République!" the hardened 2nd Carabinier Battalion leads the charge. They come under torrential fire from the Austrian guns. But urged on by Napoleon, Berthier, Massena, Lannes, and others, French infantry surge across, under, and around the bridge. Faced with this irresistible onslaught, the Austrian front line crumbles. And with French cavalry across the river to the north, the rest of the Austrian rearguard begins an orderly withdrawal.
Why is it Napoleon is always the one to send people around, and none of his opponents ever pull those maneuvers? I no longer regarded myself as a simple general, but as a man called upon to decide the fate of peoples. After the Battle of Lodi, Napoleon Bonaparte.
5 days after his victory at Lodi, Napoleon leads his army into the city of Milan. They are welcomed by cheering crowds. Though in reality, Italians are deeply divided in their attitudes towards the French.
Right? Why are they cheering? Why are they acting like a lot of them as if they got liberated? Like, whoa. Did they not like their previous rulers that much? Or are they just trying to like, all right, if I don't cheer, then they might kill me, so I gotta cheer.
After Lodi, French soldiers have a new nickname. After Lodi, French soldiers have a new nickname for their general, Le Petit Caporal,
Little Corporal.
It's a term of affection because he gets his hands dirty, even aiming the guns himself, the job of an artillery corporal. It's a term of affection because he gets his hands dirty, even aiming the guns himself, the job of an artillery corporal.
Okay, so I've heard like things about like Napoleon being really short is more of like a myth perpetrated by a few things, including like British cartoon or cartoon depictions and stuff like that, or But I mean, even his own soldiers are calling him small. And another thing was that like, oh, he's looks even smaller because there are so many times he was around or had paintings of him with the elite guard, right, of France, who were often much taller than more normal soldiers. But I mean, doesn't that all go out the window when even his soldiers around him here are still calling him the little corporal? So, I mean, people say, like, oh, for his time, he was actually normal size. I'm like, well, then why are they calling him affectionately the little corporal?
Aiming the guns himself, the job of an artillery corporal. In just a month, Napoleon has transformed a war-weary, disheveled and demoralized army into a victorious fighting force, brimming with esprit de corps and eager for further conquests. While he, in his first campaign, has demonstrated extraordinary energy, mastery of detail, brilliant military intuition, above all, indomitable self-belief. It is this quality that inspires his soldiers to risk their lives for glory, for the Republic, and for the man they will one day acclaim their emperor.
Vive l'Empereur!
A big thank you to PMF Productions for...
That was a 27-minute video. And it did... They always fly by because these videos are amazing.
Their help create... A big thank you to PMF Productions for their help creating this series and charting Napoleon's movements across northern Italy. We highly recommend their YouTube channel featuring their own detailed series on Napoleon's Italian campaigns, which you can find by searching PMF Productions.
They've actually left a comment on one of my reactions to Epic History TV before. It was really cool.
Or on Napoleon's Italian campaigns,
IPMF.
which you can find by searching PMF Productions or using the link in our video description. Thank you also to artist Keith Rocco for kind permission to use his artwork in this series. You can find more of Keith's brilliant Napoleonic art via the link in our video description. And thank you.
I like how it's cool. Like, it doesn't like just show a puff of smoke at the muzzle, but like, when a cannon fires, I imagine it creates a giant cloud of smoke. Just very nice.
Keith's brilliant Napoleonic art via the link in our video description.
I love this channel.
And thank you, of course, to all the Epic History TV Patreon supporters who make this channel possible. Visit our Patreon page to find out how you can support our work.
That's you, LXH.
Choose
Thanks,
future topics and get ad-free early access to new videos.
Need I say any more? I love this channel. Oh, post-emptive like. I should have preemptive liked it. A sacrifice to the algorithm gods. Love your channel so much. I don't think there is a better history channel on YouTube. Keep up the great work, please. Please keep up the great work, exclamation point, space, smiley face, comment. Awesome. Now, this was 4 hours ago that was posted. Okay, guys? I'm certainly not posting it right now. Just please, I said it at the beginning, but I hope if you did watch this, you went to their channel first. And I might upload it tomorrow. Even that's a little bit early. If not tomorrow, it will certainly be up on... Is it Friday? It's Friday, right? Thursday? Friday. If not Saturday, it'll be up on Sunday. Okay, guys? Love y'all. Hope you learned something or can teach me something in the comments. Thanks again, LightX7, and for notifying me. And I'll see you guys next time, all right? Bye, guys.